The hallway lights flickered as 5 grown men cornered a trembling little girl against the lockers. She cried out, her voice echoing through the empty school. "Daddy, please stop them." And that was the moment everything changed. Because the quiet janitor everyone ignored. The man they assumed was weak, invisible, harmless. Lifted his head, dropped his mop, and whispered, "Close your eyes, sweetheart." 10 seconds later, all 5 men lay groaning on the floor, and before anyone could understand what happened, a Navy Admiral and his wife came running toward the scene, straight toward him. And they recognized him instantly. Ethan Hale had mastered the art of being invisible. Every morning he arrived before dawn, cleaning the hallways of Crestwood Academy, the elite school where the children of admirals, captains, and high-ranking officials studied. Parents walked by him without a glance. Teachers nodded politely but never lingered. Students barely noticed he existed except one. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily. She was the reason he worked 2 jobs, slept barely 4 hours, and never complained. Lily was small, soft-spoken, and brave in the way children are brave, trying to smile through storms that weren't their fault. Most days, Ethan made sure to finish mopping the kindergarten wing before Lily arrived so she would see him standing tall, not bent over a bucket. But one morning, she arrived early, with red eyes. "Daddy," she whispered, clutching his sleeve, "they pushed me again." Ethan knelt, heart tightening. "Who did, sweetheart?" But Lily only shook her head. "They said I shouldn't be here, because you're a janitor." He wanted to scream, to shake the world until it respected her. But all he could do was hug her and promise, "I'll always protect you. Always." Still, Ethan kept quiet. Quiet was safe. Quiet didn't attract attention, and attention was the last thing he wanted. Because Ethan Hale was not always a janitor. Before tragedy cut his life in half, he had been something else, something dangerous, classified, hidden behind layers of military paperwork and silence. He had walked away from all of it when Lily's mother died. She needed a father, not a warrior. So he buried the man he used to be. But life has a way of digging up what we try to forget. For weeks, 5 troublemaking teens in the upper grades had been causing chaos, sons of wealthy, influential men who believed rules didn't apply to them. Their ringleader, Mason Graff, was the Admiral's nephew. Untouchable. Teachers feared their parents. Security guards pretended not to see. And then one quiet afternoon, after dismissal, Lily returned to school to pick up the notebook she forgot. Ethan followed behind with his mop cart, humming softly until he heard a sound that froze his blood. A whimper. A thud. Lily's voice. He dropped everything and ran. Down the hall, 5 boys had her pressed against the lockers. Mason was laughing. "So your dad scrubs toilets? How embarrassing." "Stop." Lily cried. "Please stop." Ethan stepped into view. The boys paused, sneering. "Oh look," Mason said. "The janitor wants to play hero." But when Ethan saw Lily's tear-soaked face, something old, buried, discipline deep in his bones, woke up. His voice was low, calm, deadly still. "Lily, close your eyes." "Daddy, please stop them," she cried. What happened next took 7 seconds. 7 seconds that would change everything. Mason lunged first. Ethan sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and flipped him over his shoulder. Another swung a fist. Ethan ducked, slammed an elbow into his ribs, and swept his legs. The third came from behind. Ethan spun, grabbing him by the hoodie and tossing him into the lockers. The last 2 hesitated, terrified. Too late. When the echoes faded, 5 boys lay incapacitated on the floor, groaning in pain. Ethan took Lily in his arms, brushing her hair from her face. "It's okay, baby. Daddy's here." But before he could move, the doors at the end of the hallway burst open. Admiral Jonathan Graff and his wife, General Evelyn Graff, sprinted toward them. And the moment they laid eyes on Ethan, they froze. Their faces drained of color. Evelyn whispered, trembling, "It can't be. Hale." The Admiral's voice echoed down the hall like thunder. Hale. Ethan Hale. Is that really you? Ethan tensed. The last thing he wanted was attention, confrontation, recognition. He gently placed Lily behind him and faced the Admiral couple. Sir, this is just a misunderstanding. I'll take full responsibility. But Admiral Graff shook his head. No. You don't understand. He stepped closer, staring at Ethan like he was seeing a ghost. You're him. The man from Operation Tempest. The one who saved 13 soldiers alone. Ethan's jaw clenched. I'm just a janitor now. But the Admiral wasn't listening. Behind him, Mason groaned, holding his wrist. Evelyn knelt beside him, checking his injuries. What happened here? She demanded. Mason stammered, he attacked us. Lily burst forward, wiping her tears. No. They cornered me. They were hurting me. Evelyn's eyes softened instantly. She placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. Honey, are you okay? Lily nodded weakly. Ethan squeezed her hand. Then Admiral Graff turned to his nephew, fury burning through him. Mason Graff, you have disgraced this school and our family. You will answer for this. Mason looked stunned. But Uncle John, he's a janitor. He, the Admiral roared, pointing at Ethan, is a decorated hero. A man who sacrificed everything. His voice dropped. And he saved my life. Silence filled the hallway. The other boys stared in disbelief. Evelyn stood, facing Ethan. When you disappeared from the military records, we thought you were dead. Why are you here? Why, like this? Ethan swallowed, eyes lowering to Lily. My daughter needed me. She's all I have. Evelyn's expression melted into something gentle, softened by respect. Admiral Graff crossed his arms. You shouldn't be mopping floors. Someone like you deserves better. Ethan shook his head. This job lets me be close to her. That's all that matters. The Admiral stepped closer. What if we offered something better for both of you? Ethan hesitated. He didn't trust offers. He'd had enough of promises that demanded pieces of his soul in return. But then Evelyn knelt again, smiling warmly at Lily. You're strong, young lady. Brave. And what those boys did was wrong. Your father protected you, just like he once protected the nation. She stood and faced Ethan. You won't face charges. You won't lose your job. On the contrary, we want to help. Ethan blinked. Help? Admiral Graff nodded slowly. A full scholarship for Lily. Any school she wants, even our Naval Honors Academy. And as for you, if you ever want to return, the door is open. Ethan felt his throat tighten. Not because he wanted glory. Not because he wanted status. But because someone finally saw him. Not the janitor. Not the invisible man. But the father who would tear down mountains to protect his child. He looked at Lily, who whispered. Daddy, are we safe now? Ethan lifted her into his arms. Yes, sweetheart. We are. Admiral Graff extended his hand. To new beginnings, hail. Ethan hesitated, then shook it. That day, the school learned a lesson it would never forget. A man's worth isn't in his uniform, his salary, or his title. But in the lengths he'll go to protect the ones he loves.